All right, and here we are. We got the 6-6-1 Dallas Cowboys going against the 5-8 Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football. Welcome to Cowboys Gameplan. And if you've been with us for a while, we got kind of new layout we're trying out here. We've got some new things we're trying to add as we get more subscribers and everything, and we appreciate y'all. And if you haven't already yet, man, hit that like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. Obviously, we've been saying it every week because that's the situation we've been put in, but this is another big game that we have to add to the win column. We really need it, especially with what Philly gave you, which is an early Christmas present on Monday Night Football by losing that game to the Chargers. So if you're in the playoff hunt, the playoff race for the NFC East, Cowboys got to win out. You need Philly to lose a couple more, but you're still in the fight at the moment. So, Mike, how are you feeling about Sunday night, and what maybe can our fans expect to see in this game?
So how I'm feeling is, with the playoffs looming very close at hand, aside from winning the division, I think there's four other paths in which we can make the playoffs. And it's basically we just need several teams to fall to seven losses. The more teams with seven losses, the better off we're going to stand, and we'll have a chance to get in there at the end. And I think that's likely to happen. I think there's a better chance of that happening um, statistically than us winning out. And I'm not saying I don't think we can win out, but if you just look at the odds, you know, nobody's expecting us to win out. I think this game we're playing Sunday and the game against the Chargers are going to be the two biggest ones. Although you never know, you go into Washington and we've got the Giants the last game of the season. They're going to play us as tough as they possibly can. So all four of these games are going to be tough games. You're playing the Cowboys. You're playing on Sunday Night Football. We're always going to be a prime time show for the rest of the year, especially with all the drama that's been surrounding. So yeah, that you know how that goes. Where everybody's Super Bowl. Um, I do anticipate a good game plan and good execution from the team on Sunday night. I think Shoddy will have them prepared. I don't think they're going to let us down as far as their efforts go. Dak played a tough defense in Detroit, but he still managed to rattle off 376 yards and a touchdown. There were some mistakes in the game that caused some turnovers that hurt us. But this defense is what this is all about against Minnesota. Brian Flores has led defense, and they're statistically better than Detroit. So I think we're definitely going to have some challenges on that side of the ball.
Yeah, that's a great call out. It's really going to be your number one offense versus your I think it's the number 6 Vikings. Now, to our viewers, I'm playing with some things here, but I'm gonna show off these fancy little graphics I'm starting to make to bring more content for y'all. So here we're looking at our team comparison here, and like I said, you have your number one offense going against that number 8 defense of Brian Flores, which Mike had just mentioned. And really the matchup of the week, right? You really have kind of like two. You have Minnesota's bad offense versus our bad defense versus our really good offense versus our really good defense. And so looking at these stats and stuff, it's kind of going to be huge for our offense to step up and rebound, which again, like you said, it's not even really like your offense is having to rebound. It's just staying on track of what they're doing. Our
Right.
defense has to keep stepping up like they did versus the previous 3 games before Detroit. So that's what this matchup is really coming down to. Now, do I think that the Vikings are really struggling right now because of JJ McCarthy? I'd say yes. I mean, when you look at Justin Jefferson and all the guys that are around JJ McCarthy, he's not necessarily like a guy who comes out and is going to throw the ball like Dak Prescott or someone who's going to just sling it everywhere. Now, he will try to take his shots and he will take what is given to him. But again, coming out of college, JJ McCarthy was never really just like a dime passer or someone who could sit in the pocket all day. He was a system quarterback for Michigan. And when they won the championship, he was never anything special to me. I mean, he's made great plays on film and he has all heart and he has all effort, but it's not like Patrick Mahomes or even Jalen Hurts, I'll put in this conversation, but that was before Monday night. And then even talking like Jared Goff, so Minnesota's going to have to come in with a strong game plan to not only slow us down, but find a way to be creative and get Justin Jefferson and those guys open.
Yeah, and talking about McCarthy, he's had a broken season too, so he
Yeah.
hasn't had continuity. They've changed quarterbacks in and out a couple of times this season, but that doesn't always matter. It's funny how good a team can play when they play versus Dallas.
Yeah.
And that offensive coordinator and head coach over there is going to be ready for us. It's not a bad offense. They haven't been able to get in a groove and stay there. They had a very successful day versus Washington. But, I think that the Washington team is just so beat up and banged up that, they were just able to overpower them defensively and had enough rhythm and enough opportunities to get comfortable and get the offense going. But just talking about the offense for a second, the only thing that really concerns me offensively is we don't need them to get Justin Jefferson going. I think we can handle Naylor and Addison, but we do not need them to get Justin Jefferson going. We cannot let McCarthy get in a groove. But their running back, Aaron Jones, the last time we saw him, he went for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he's done that as a Packer on a couple of occasions. That's just the most significant one in recent memory. But he has a good day versus Dallas's defenses every time he plays against us.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to pay special attention to that. I know he's aging. He's getting up there in years for a running back, but you know,
Well,
sometimes
still,
that really doesn't matter.
I mean, between their two running backs last week, when you're looking at Aaron Jones had 14 carries for 76 yards and Jordan Mason had 11 carries for 52 yards. Yeah, it's a banged up Washington team, but let's not act like our defense is just, premier and like super good and all that. So it's one of these things where, yeah, they may have been banged up of a defense over there, but our defense has not been proven to just be top 20 right now. And nothing wrong with that, but again, like you said, Aaron Jones always has our number for some reason. When he was with Green Bay, and obviously the 2023 playoff game, he has our number, and that's just how it is. So that's what Minnesota's going to rely on. I really feel that they're going to rely on their running game, and they're going to look to get Justin Jefferson and those guys open with the advantage that they think they have on our secondary, which everyone else has had the advantage on us, and find ways to really get those guys going. Now, Jordan Addison is kind of an interesting conversation because if you're so focused on Jay Jettis, they kind of have their version of like their number 2 receiver like we have in Dallas, and that 1-2 punch combo is even deadly too because Addison went for 4 receptions for 62 yards, and he's usually their deep threat kind of guy, the speedster across the middle, and while Jefferson makes all the crazy deep route plays. So
Well, it's his height and his catch radius. It's another
yeah,
McMillan. It's Mike Evans. It's just a really big guy, and we'll flip that when we go on our defense versus their offense here in a minute. But
yeah,
it's just he can add so much dynamic if he gets going early, and then you throw T.J. Hawkinson in the mix.
yeah.
And we do struggle with big, aggressive receiving tight ends sometimes. It does happen to us. But there is a silver lining here. They are the worst team in the league when it comes to turnovers. Their
Okay.
offense provides more turnovers than any other team in the NFL right now, which bodes well for us, especially with what could potentially be happening for our defense. So I definitely think those are the two things we have to really pay attention to is yes, they have a powerful defense, but their offense has not gotten its feet under it yet. McCarthy's still a rookie, and I don't know how many games he started this year, but it can't be a ton. And he's just kind of starting to get in the crease there a little bit. But they do have a lot of turnovers, and that could really help us on Dallas's defense for sure.
Yeah, so let me ask you this: since let's stick talking about the defense here, since we're talking about them, when we can finish off with the offense. What do you think is going to be crucial for our defense? Is it going to be the pass rush, or is it really going to be like, hey, we need to stick with 4-man fronts and let's keep an extra guy in coverage, or are you really running a bunch of 5-man stunts or 4-man fronts with a blitzer? Like, are you trying to blitz and get the ball out of his hands? Because last week it's like you attempted that with Jared Goff, but their game plan was to get the ball out quick, and it hurt you a little bit. Then when you backed off, your pass rush didn't get to him fast enough, and then that's when the deep play explosion happened. So how are you attacking J.J. McCarthy and maybe this Vikings offense when it
I
comes to
mean,
scheme?
at first, I think you play man up
Yeah.
and you rush with 4 or 5 and see how that goes for you. In my mind, this is a young quarterback, like I've been saying, who's not totally familiar with every look and angle that can be thrown at him in a game yet. So I think you got to rattle him and get to him early, which we can do. He's not extremely mobile,
Yeah.
and I think he can be rattled and confused. I think Dallas needs to hide their looks as best they can, rush 4, man up on everybody else, and then as we need to, we can start firing blitzes and twists and stunts and pins and looping guys around the end and do some things like that. It's really just gonna depend on. And we had a conversation last week, and I talked about how the coaches are coaching to the momentum of the game and how it's going. And I think this week is a good week to actually do that. Let's take the first quarter and see how they're going to try to attack us. And I think we can change our defense to meet the needs of what their offense is giving us. Does that make sense?
No,
So
yeah.
I definitely think we can change and be aggressive midstream, mid game. But no, to roundabout answer the question, I think it's full attack, rattle the kid, get to him early, do not let him get comfortable with a bunch of like good, clean handoffs, screen passes,
Yeah.
attacks to the sideline with Hawkinson. Do not let him get comfortable. Put him in the dirt in the first or second series, and get him off his spot, or he's going to get confident, and when teams get confident under the big lights in AT&T, it makes for a long night. Not that this is going to be a shootout. I don't expect it to. It could turn into one. This is not a terrible offense, but we got to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, so the way I visualize it, it's probably in the same area as you, is no matter what, I want Matt Eberflus to stop the run. If JJ McCarthy throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns or whatever, and that's how we lose, then that's how our season is wrapped up in the nutshell. Because at the end of the day, I still think the secondary has a lot of issues within itself. But the last thing I need to happen is this kid get bailed out by his running backs, and all of a sudden you're looking at 3rd and 1s or 3rd and 2s, and then like you say, he's dumping it to Hawkinson or he's looking for the deep play because we have to sit so far up for the potential run that just shut it out. We need to force 1st and 10s into 2nd and 9s or 2nd and 8s, keep them behind the sticks, keep them behind their game plan, and make JJ McCarthy uncomfortable. I do not want to see Aaron Jones forcing it all day where it's 9 yards a carry and everything is 2nd and 2, 2nd and 1, or whatever it is, because that's how Dallas is going to lose these games for the rest of the schedule. If they allow teams to run the ball, and it's been a problem in the past, then you have no chance at all. So I need Quinnen Williams, Osa, Kenny Clark, those guys to step up and do their job.
On the field at
Yeah.
all times.
Yeah. Throw those 3 out there, throw an edge out there, or throw 2 edges out there, and put your best run defenders out there. And when you know it's 3rd and long, then obviously throw the pass rush out there. But it is very crucial to not let Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason do not get going. I'm just really emphasizing on that from like my personal game plan.
No,
And
I
from,
agree. And the screen pass as well. That's the other
yeah,
thing that I'm a little bit concerned about with this team, because that's an easy way to get yards and to, put the ball in too much danger, but potentially have an explosive play. They see us biting up really hard to stop the run, and they just do a little dump to Aaron, or Jordan into the flat. And if we don't have good, gap fills, we're gonna lose 5, 6, 7, 8 yards on that. So I agree with you that.
it's one of these games where if the defense will step up, make JJ McCarthy uncomfortable by putting him behind the sticks, slowing down his run game to not have the ability to be bailed out due to being able to throw short passes. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. You will really be successful because our offense is going to be really successful against them. And all I need on my defense to do is to make him uncomfortable, slow him down, and whatever happens, do not let them be able to run the ball. If he throws for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, I'm cool with it. We can wrap our season. We can start draft talk. But in this game plan, that's where I'm at with it. I think that you're going to look to hopefully Logan Wilson this week. I mean, let's talk about that in our linebacker core. Obviously, Overshown, he's doing his thing. You haven't seen really much discrepancies from him. He looks fine off the injury, but what are we going to do about this linebacker two or our green dot? Because between him and Kenneth Murray, do we expect to see Logan Wilson play, or is this just something where we made the trade and we're just going to keep throwing Kenneth Murray out there to get juked and not be able to read plays right?
I really don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't get to watch practice, and I don't get to talk to the coaches in the meeting rooms.
Yeah,
But all you really have is what your eyes tell you from the games and what you see,
on
on
the
the
film.
feeds. Yeah, and I hear good things about both. I hear the coaches saying that Canine's playing much better, and I see things where people are pointing out that he's doing his assignment on the field. He's just always in the area where a play happens, so it looks like it's on him. But then I also see some things that are hinting that maybe Logan Wilson is going to have more snaps in this game. So what I think is you have two really talented guys that can do several different things, and it's just going to be whatever they've prepared script wise is going to be better suited for Kenneth, or it's going to be better suited for Logan, and that's who we're going to see out on the field. But I do have a feeling that instead of 6 to 12 plays, we're probably going to see more of a 50-50 count between Kenneth Murray and Logan Wilson this week, just because Logan Wilson's premier talent is zone coverages. And we
Yeah.
may have some zone on occasion. I really hope they just really do a lot of 0 and 1, but I definitely expect Logan to play a little bit more.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about the defense, how are you feeling about Trevon Diggs? What's your opinion on that?
Shoot. I love Trayvon Diggs, and I've said this in our previous episodes. I love the dude, and I hate that whatever is going on with him, it's happening. But at the same time, when you read the stories and you read how the timeline of things have played out, it's really just an ugly divorce that's going to near ahead at the end of this season. I feel like I unfortunately think that Trayvon, if he's got one more week to be activated, and if not, he's hitting the IR for the rest of the year. And if he hits the IR for us a year, can you really see him even being back next year as a Dallas Cowboy?
No, but I'm again, it's one of those things where all we have is what little information we get to form an opinion on. But
Yeah.
here's a couple things that help me kind of get to a resolution in my mind on this. I really trust Shoddy as a head coach now. I really do. And when he tells me that there is a culture building that's occurring in the building, I have enough faith in what I've seen in result to tell me that that actually means something.
Yeah.
So with Trayvon coming out of concussion protocol and he was eligible to play and they didn't put him on the field, that told me something. Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, Trayvon is a Pro Bowl cornerback. And if at any time he is playing confidently to his level and ability, he should be on the football field for whatever team he's on.
Yeah.
100%. I agree with that. I believe that. I believe that now. That's just the fact. But there's a couple caveats here. One, he is now himself as a person saying, I want to play. I am ready to go. I want to play here in Dallas. That's one. The second part is, like I said about Shoddy, there is a culture that's being built here. And if he doesn't see that a player is doing the things that he feels a championship player should be doing, they don't see the field.
Yeah.
So it tells me that if Trayvon plays, I know that his mind and his ability and his body are all the way there.
Yeah.
And Schottenheimer feels that he has done what he is expected to do in order to be on the field. And he's not on the field just because of his contract, the number he wears, the last name on his jersey, and the commitment that's been made to him by Jerry Jones and the front office. So that makes me feel confident. If he comes trotting out there and starts the game, I'm going to feel really good about it for several reasons. But I know that, man, we got our guy back. I really, truly, honestly hope that he comes out and he has a banger of a day, and he continues to play well for the rest of the year and just ramps up, and this all goes away. We need Trevon Diggs. We really need him.
Yeah, I mean, we need Trevon Diggs when you're looking at especially the cornerback two position, and even with Bland struggling a little bit because Bland is not necessarily supposed to be covering your number one guy. He's great at covering number twos, being in that slot, but I mean, the number one guy was always Trevon, right? He was somebody who could follow and be able to have that ability. Now, let me play devil's advocate for you because here's the thing: is Trevon only wanting to get on the field in case Cowboys cut him? And I mean, he
He
hasn't
needs
played.
film. It's
He needs
possible, but
film. I
he
mean, he
can't
hasn't
be
played
cut if
in.
he plays well. If we want to keep him, it's our option. It's not his.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
has no choice in this.
he hasn't played in like 3 years. I mean, he obviously played early part of the
He's
year, but
played
like,
19 games in
yeah,
3 years.
yeah, and that's huge. I mean, a lot of teams, and it could be one of these things where he finishes out the season strong. Dallas is like, hey, Trayvon, we had an ugly
We're
mess
going
in
to
the
trade
offseason.
you.
Yeah, we're going to trade you or cut you, but we had an ugly mess at the beginning of the year. We're going to let you go. And then he goes and signs a 1-year deal for 5 to 10 million. And he has a bounce back year and gets that one more contract. But it's an interesting situation. It sucks that it's happening. I
Yeah.
really wish he would be out there and be really providing some help for this secondary, especially what we've seen in Detroit and what we saw pre-trade deadline. He could be a really good asset for us, but until we see that activation and all that, he may be shut down on IR. I expect him to be shut down on IR. That's my personal guess.
Yeah, I actually think he's going to play.
You do?
Yeah, I really do. I think he's going to play.
Hope so.
And I hope I'm right. I don't want things to go that
South.
way. It
Yeah.
would be great to have what we intended. Because let me tell you this, man, you've played football, you know how this goes. If you've got a guy out there on the other side of you who plays your position and he is playing well, what does it do for you?
Lights
How
up
does it
that fire.
it helps your game come up, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you've got rookie cornerbacks out there for Bland right now, and there's more pressure on Bland to not only do a good job, but to do enough to pick up any slack as a leader on the team that the young guys may be experiencing, not having played as much as him, and it puts a lot more pressure and stress on him. And that sounds like it doesn't make sense, but it's the truth. Iron sharpens iron. But when you got a confident cornerback over here and you got another confident cornerback over here, and this guy is locking down a receiver, you as a player and as a competitor, you want to make sure your guy, you don't want to be the reason. You're going to lock your guy down too. And then all the little young bucks and rookies and safeties, they all see that and they're like, well, shit, we're going to lock them all down, And next thing you know, everybody's in handcuffs. And that's what you want. So I'm hoping he comes out, because if he comes out onto the field, that tells me he's ready, he's physically ready, and the coaches feel like he's ready.
Yeah.
And that's the best situation you can have a player come out into a game in. But it looks like the rest of the defense is pretty healthy. It looks like we're going to get Jadeveon back. Looks like we're going to get Malik back. So there's no excuse on Sunday for this. The
Yeah.
defense needs to have a day.
Yeah. And this is a time for them to step back up to the plate like they did the past 3 games or before Detroit, those games before, and kind of get back on the right track, especially with a quarterback who is very iffy at best. JJ McCarthy isn't anybody who should really do what I'm saying he should, or what I'm saying he should do to beat you. So it's all it. Man, I'm sorry, you got my mind on Trayvon, man. I got 2 or 3 Trayvon Diggs jerseys, and the last thing I want him to do is leave because then I got to retire him, and I don't want to do that just yet.
Yeah,
But
I don't think that's going to happen. I really just don't. I'm not. It's not a popular opinion. I can tell you that.
yeah, no,
Um,
most people are expecting him to just be gone and move on from it.
right.
But
I don't think that benefits us. I think it's
well,
more
not for
beneficial for us to keep
yeah,
Bland, and train our young guys. We got Kalen Carson and we got Chavone, and those are talented players, and they're going to be talented. But let's let the natural progression and understudy of things happen and let them just naturally develop into who they're going to develop to be. And they will naturally move Trayvon and Duron out of their way as it's supposed to happen when it's supposed to happen. But I don't want to force these guys in,
Yeah.
to take being a Dallas Cowboy is a big deal. It's a hard place to play. There is tons of pressure on you, especially when you fill someone's shoes who's been so polarizing for the team. So yeah, if we get 100% Trayvon, I'm not worried.
Yeah. I agree. All right. You ready to flip the script here?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna hit you with another one right out of the gate when we move over to the offense here.
Yeah, let's do
So
it. Hit me with it.
Dallas's offense, right?
Yep.
I think we know what we can expect from Dak. Dak's hit that Yoda stage of quarterback,
Dude,
where you're not gonna mess with the man,
throw
right?
football or not, don't try.
Yeah, yeah. We're at home, okay, so that gives him complete control of the team. He can hear, he can communicate, he can dissect what this defense tries to do because they bull jive, man. They can show multiple looks on the same play. We may have to see Dak walking up to the lineman and communicating with them as we've done in the past when we get confusing looks and Dak's trying to, call out changes and audibles to the linemen and the receivers. I think that benefits us. I think us being at home for this game is huge because I have respect for the Vikings. I don't think this is an easy win.
Yeah.
I think defensively they provide a lot of problems. I mean, they hold teams under 300 yards, and Brian Flores has done a good job with what is technically a no-name defense. There's no big names over there. It's just some pretty good guys who are very smart about how they play football, and they communicate it well. So, but we have the master of the blitz and the surgical offense. So, um, that's kind of the outline that I'm going with for this. But the mystery is what are we doing with Izzy Abaniconda? I want to see this guy get into the offense. I think he can make an impact that elevates the play we've been getting from Malik Davis. I love Malik Davis, but I think that Abaniconda is Malik Davis with Javonte Williams's size and weight, right?
Yeah.
So he's faster and he's a little bigger and a little more elusive. So I think that would be a more accommodating 1-2 punch to put out there with Javante. Malik is just sleek and fast. One cut and gone. But Abanaconda can do a little bit of everything, and he's got 20 25 pounds more on him, and he's just a little bit taller, and I think he runs like 7/10 of a second faster. So I mean that seems minimal, but it's a lot when you talk about 4.3 versus 4.4 or 4.5. So
Yeah. No. I think unfortunately with the way that Shoddy calls his offense and the way that they have it schemed up with Clayton Adams, you're probably not seeing him unless an
I know
injury happens to
it was
one of the
just it
two.
was just a hopeful, fun thing.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but no,
Yeah,
I mean it's but the good news is it's a consistent trend because I'll say this, Ryan, we've talked about this before. In the past, you never knew what you were going to get at Mike McCarthy on who's going to get this many snaps, who's going to get this many carries. I can tell you for one thing for sure, if you go back from week 1 to now, you're only playing 2 running backs every game, whether it's Javonte and Miles Sanders, Javonte and Jane Blue, and now Javonte and Malik Davis. And
right,
the second running back is only getting 2 to 4 carries at best. Like,
right.
I mean, Javonte has been the workhorse, which I'm blessed for. I'm not saying like, oh man, I hope Javonte, sits out a week or something. No. What I'm saying is Shoddy and Clayton Adams have this offense being very consistent. They plan on Javonte Williams getting to 14 to 18 carries, and then they plan on that backup running back to come in for 2 to 4 to relieve them. And I don't have a problem with it at all. Now, would I like to see your guy out there? I would. I think it'd be interesting to maybe have a little bit of a running back competition at RB2, but Is the reason why they won't do it, one, is because Malik Davis has been playing well, but two, is it too late in the season for maybe a change like that?
No, I don't think
Yeah.
that's what it is. I'm gonna pull the curtain back and tell you why I even brought Anaconda up today. Was I was looking at it and I'm like, why are we never putting any? Why? Okay, so Javante's runs, he's still finding success. He's getting good yards, but we were getting much more explosion on runs earlier in the season. Every third or fourth run, we were getting 10 to 12 yards.
Yeah.
We're still getting the average that we were getting. We're just not getting that 10 or 12 yard explosive run that we were getting used to. And I'm like, why is that happening? And I'm like, okay, he could be wearing down a little bit, but he's very smart. He knows the offense really well. He's reliable as a pass protector for Dak. He is, I think, one time in the last 3 games, I think it was the one in Detroit, he let up a sack. He just the defender intentionally waited for him to move off and settle, and then ran in to get a sack. So it's not necessarily his fault, but
Yeah.
still, I think that's what keeps him in the game is because Malik knows Dallas, he knows the offense, and he can handle the responsibility. But he's only out there for 2 to 4 plays because I don't think they can rely on him due to his stature to pass protect as well as Javante. But in studying Abanaconda, guess what he does really well?
Pass block.
He pass protects very, very well. So I'm like, why bring this guy onto the team unless there is a benefit to the team? Right? So I'm like, what was that benefit? And I'm like, Javante may be wearing down in the legs a little bit. They may need someone who can come out there and kind of pass protect and take the handoffs and give us what Javante's been giving us to save a little tire wear here. So that's kind of where I'm at. It could be I could be totally off base and nothing changes. He's purely just a practice squad guy, and that's what he's
Yeah.
here for. But I think it's a waste of a good player to not give him some reps in the game. Maybe we leave Lupke off and throw him on this time instead of carrying 3 tight ends. We carry 3 running backs and 2 tight ends with Span and Fergie, and we rock
Yeah.
with that. But I don't know, man. I would really, really love to see him get an opportunity. He hasn't had a good line to run behind as a pro yet. And I think he could have success with Dallas being fresh legged and a little more elusive.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're both just full-time employees who talk about Cowboys on the
Yeah,
side. So,
man.
at this point, any opinion is better than no opinion. But no, I agree. I think what you have in Shawty's culture though is always a competition committee. So
Right.
I like you said earlier about the whole Trevon Diggs situation, I trust Shoddy and Clayton Adams to make the right decision when it comes to who is going to be on the active roster on active game day. Because if he activates him or if it's like, hey, we're going to take this guy off and put him on, it's because he trusts him and he thinks that he's ready for his moment. Like, remember
Right.
beginning of the year, and also you could say we proved it with the wide receiver room, right? He's bench CD and all them for like a drive or something like that. But I'm talking like Tolbert was our number 3 guy to start the year. Well, all of a sudden, Flournoy's now your guy going, 13, 14 weeks in. And Tolbert and Mingo fight to even just suit up that day. So
Right.
I definitely
No.
trust Shoddy to make those decisions. I think he's done very well this year with it. So actually, talking about Shoddy, and this will probably come back up at the end of the year whenever it ends, but what has he been above your expectations, met your expectations, or has he been below your expectations for what you had when he had his opening press conference when we start talking about why did we hire Brian Schottenheimer as next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
I think he's met my expectations, and I have high optimism for what the end result could be. I
Yeah.
won't say he's exceeded them yet because I want to see a little bit more proof of concept when it comes to the culture thing. I would like
Yeah.
to see what his direction is when he has a staff that he's had for more than one season. Because if you can change the dynamic of a team with, and I'm going to use the term hodgepodge, but by no means do I mean that's the quality of coaching staff that we have. But this is a hodgepodge of coaches that have been assembled. And we got off to a bad start with inherited players from most of these coaches. And here we are, despite what everyone thought, we actually have a legit chance to be a winning team by the end of the year, playoffs or not. So I think that speaks volumes for what people would have thought on the Schottenheimer hire at the beginning of the season. They thought Jerry was just laying it up and that he didn't put effort into his coaching hunt. And I think if this trend continues at the end of next year, I think it'll be a hard thing to say that Schottenheimer is not the right guy for Dallas.
Yeah, I agree. I think he has definitely met my expectations when it comes to just being able to step into this role after what Mike McCarthy provides you for the next 4 years. But like you said, I think most Cowboys fans are waiting for what is that next step? What is, how do we, whatever, however this year works out, how do you get better and how do you improve this team? Because obviously the roster is going to be there, hopefully, right? You bring back Pickens and everyone else. But so now, since I got us off track, let me get us back on track. What is the key for this Cowboys offense to defeat this Vikings defense? Because number one thing I know about Brian Flores and this Vikings defense is he pressures and blitzes like no other, I hear. So, and I've seen some stats on it. I don't know them on top of my head, but I know he is a blitzer, blitz, blitz, blitz. And so there's going to be a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott, especially with Nate Thomas and Terrence Steele, who aren't the best tackles. If they blitz interiorly, I feel okay about it, but exteriorly, it may be a tough challenge.
Yeah, that's an easy answer. It's going to be an efficient and effective and well timed running game.
Yep.
And then I think they 100% need to have a screen package for this game.
Yeah.
Dak is going to need a release valve for when somebody blows an assignment, like you just said, Thomas or Steele, blows an assignment. For every play concept that they're bringing to the game, he needs to have a quick relief valve, a check down that he can get the ball to that's designed into the play so that he doesn't have to take a sack or we don't have to lose a down. We can't afford to lose a bunch of downs to this defense. We
No.
have to stay in front of the chains as much as possible. We can't get stuck behind because
No. Yeah, and that's what
they
happened
pass.
last week.
Yeah, they pass cover really well too. So I think that's really it. I think that we're going to do the things we want to do, passing the ball down the field, just because listen, man, their cornerbacks are tiny. Okay, we've got 6 foot to 6'4", 6'6" for one of them in our receivers. Our tight ends are really tall guys. Pickens is tall. CeeDee Lamb's 6'2", 6'3". Their cornerbacks are 5'10" and 5'9", 5'11". So I think that we can handle that part of the passing game, but we cannot afford to take too much time in the pocket. Is what I'm getting at. So that's why we need a strong running game, good communication, and we definitely need a screen package. All the other stuff is going to happen. CD's going to get his, Pickens is going to get his slant, Fergie's going to take his bite, but none of that will be effective and it won't be explosive unless we have a run game.
Yeah. Totally agree. The explosive run game is going to be very crucial because any way to back off a blitzing defense is to run the ball very well because then they can't blitz as much. Now, to counteract that, if you're running the ball very well, then that opens up your ability to do play action. And what a lot of people don't do on play action is blitz as much because they're afraid of trying to keep the contain of the run.
Sure.
And this offense, again, like we talked about all year, the offense flows off of the run game. You cannot be successful with Dak Prescott without having a decent running game. We've seen it in the past. Yes, Dak Prescott, like last week, is phenomenal at just dropping back and saying, hey, I can do this with my arm. You make it a special and very successful offense by having that run game. So I think it's a good game plan.
Sitting here thinking about it, if I were looking at the team that came out and played versus Detroit, offensively and defensively, it's going to sound crazy, but if I were to get that team to play the game on Sunday night versus the Vikings, I would take it just the way it is. I would only want one change. If it were to say, what would you change? The only thing I would change would be the special teams plays.
Oh, yes. I like
Because
this. I know where you're going.
I feel like this was a Detroit Lions team that was fighting for its life. This is a playoff caliber team. Of course, they're going to score points. Of course, they're going to be aggressive. We
Yep.
scored points. We were aggressive. You're expecting us to hold them to 17 points, man. You're tropical. All right, so it's like that wasn't going to happen. We did what we were supposed to do. We fought. We stayed in the game. We played football. We did our jobs. Where we
Mhm.
failed and it hurt us the most was not the turnovers. They did hurt a lot, but we put them in too good a field position every damn time. We cannot have that happen. We need the field advantage when it comes to field position. So if I were only going to get to make one change from that team from this week to this week, it would be that we have got to whoever is running the special teams. I don't even know who the coach is. Oh, it's sad, but man, get those guys blocking better. We got to do better than a 25, 26 yard return.
Yeah.
That is
So,
crazy. They're starting at the 48 or the
yeah.
45, and we're starting at the 26 every drive. And it put us in a hole every exchange.
Yeah, so as I'm looking at, because I knew where you were going, so I googled it real quick. Got on it.
Yeah.
But, it says right here that they averaged about starting on their 41, 42, and that's what I felt like. I felt like every time I was like, well, one or two first downs, and guess what? They're all of a sudden getting points, and it's like, oh,
Right.
this
Yeah.
is awkward, and especially with how their offense is with Jameer Gibbs and Jameson Williams. I mean, I know this isn't a reaction video, but to be successful, you have to have all three phases, right? And that's what Shai preaches is, right? And you gotta have that special teams hold them at least to the 35, no more. I mean, you can't let them have that. In our own return unit, we have to find a way to give our offense a little bit more of a firepower to be able to come out and be like, man, we're starting at our 40. Psh, we got Brandon
Yeah.
Aubrey. I mean, we're coming out of this like nothing. If we got field position that Detroit got every week last week, we'd score every drive.
It would have been a much better game. And
Yeah.
that's the thing is you want to beat a team, you have to put them. It's a lot. This is obvious, but it doesn't always seem so. You put a team at the 25 every time they get the ball and they have to drive all the way to the other end zone.
That's a lot of play calling.
Statistically and mathematically, their play calls have to run out, right?
Yeah.
And it gets more challenging. If they start, okay, if they come out, we kick the ball off to them because they get the ball first. They run it to the 50, past the 50, they're at our 46. They score a touchdown 5 plays later. Okay. They've burned 5 of the best plays that they scripted for the game. They kick the ball off to us. We run it from the 26 to the 27, and we drive down the field and kick a field goal. We've burned 8 of our first opening scripted plays that we know are going to take us down the field, right? We kick the ball back to them. They run it to the 50 again. They run 3 plays, 4 plays, they score a touchdown and kick a field goal. Now, not only are we down, but they still have 5 or 6 of their best plays that they still haven't even gotten to the script to yet.
Yeah.
So it's like their momentum is going to keep going. You have to wear them down in that very first possession early in the first and second quarter. You cannot let them get easy points off of the plays that they were expecting to run. We need and that's another thing that I've observed. Once we see what the team is going to do to us in the first quarter offensively and defensively, we adjust to that really, really well. We just don't always seem to be the best prepared for what they're going to throw at us initially. But once
Yeah.
we see what their punch is, we know how to counter. And that's
Yeah.
why we have such success in the second half, and we dig ourselves out in the fourth quarter, is because our experienced coaching staff is really good about finding counterpunch combos. But we've got to get better at the early round knockouts, right?
Yeah.
That's where I'm looking. So,
Yeah,
um,
we need to be the one to throw the first punch and not get
a
punched
hundred
first.
percent,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not like, hey, punch me first, so then I can
yeah.
fight back. When you need to come in there, open the door, and just
Yeah,
Just
we
like
need
get
them
in
digging
there.
into the playbook by the end of their first drive.
No, I
You know,
totally agree. And like that's all I need from the defense on their first drive. And I know we're bouncing back and forth, but we're at the end here. Is that first drive, force them to get out of that first 15 playbook, Colin. So then they're not going 2 drives in and they're still in their first 15. Like we need to make them long earned drives. And that starts with, like you said, the field position. You put them
right?
behind their 35-30. They have to develop more than just that first 15 play call. So I think it's a good call out. And you've been calling out for weeks. Every week you're like field position, field position. Well, every week they keep getting better and better field position. And last week proved that if they start on their own 40, they're going to score a lot more than you want them to.
Yeah, I mean, you look at us. We get to the 50 and it's points.
Yeah, Aubrey.
Almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
So, most teams are comparable. They're going to have some kind of efficiency once they cross the 50-yard line. So, man, you need to keep them as far away from it as you can. And if you don't, then we need to be able to at least match it. And that's the biggest problem, is that we're not matching what we're providing to the opponent in field position.
But,
That's it. That's all I got, man.
Score prediction?
I'm going to go 30-24.
30-24. I'm going to go 35-28. I'm going to go high scoring for once. I'll do it. The defense cannot stop the touchdowns from happening. So, the Minnesota Vikings somehow get 28 points. I don't want them to, but they're going to do it. I hate watching heart attack breathers. But outside of that, man, all of our subscribers, our current viewers, if you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe for us. It's one of these things that we're trying our new layouts. We're trying to develop better content for y'all. We're trying to develop better graphics for y'all. And so as we're full-time employees, we want to provide y'all the best content possible. And we thank y'all for taking the time to view us, to sit down and like the video, to subscribe to it. If you have anything you want us to talk about, comment below. And outside of that, man, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys. Have a good weekend.
Yes,
Victory
sir.
Monday, right?
Exactly. We'll see y'all until further reaction.